Theresa May today faces the Brexit fight of her life as her pizza plot ministers descend on Downing Street. The Prime Minister is hosting a fraught 2-hour cabinet meeting as she urges ministers to unite around a negotiating plan for Brussels. Tomorrow night she will sweep into the Belgian capital to try and sell her strategy to 27 fellow EU leaders before leaving without dinner. But she faces having to bring together her own top Tories after they met in Parliament to discuss her plan. Reports suggest 8 Conservatives shared pizza and strategy in Commons leader Andrea Leadsom's office, including Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab and Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt. Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab is said to have been among those present. Image, PA. Pizza was consumed. Others in attendance were Michael Gove, Penny Mordaunt, Chris Grayling, Liz Truss and Attorney General Geoffrey Cox, it was reported. None had resigned by 10 a.m. today, suggesting they were committed to changing the plan from within rather than making a big statement. Meanwhile, The Telegraph reported a Tory leadership contest could be triggered in days if Mrs May refuses to drop her plan. But Labour MP Virendra Sharma of anti-Brexit group Best for Britain mocked the plotters. He said, after days of briefing about their plot, we expected these Brexiteers to give the Prime Minister a pizza their mind. It seems like they folded quicker than a calzone. Senior ministers want Mrs May to set a firm end date for her backup plan, which will extend EU customs rules across the whole of the UK. Commons leader Andrea Leadsom has been said to be considering her position. Image, PA. The plan will avoid a hard border in Northern Ireland, but in return ban the UK from striking trade deals around the world. Tory MPs rounded on the PM last night in Parliament to demand she set an end date. But she would only say it was temporary. And she admitted, it is there for the time until the future relationship can come into place. Former Tory leader and ex-Foreign Secretary William Hague urged Mrs May to go full throttle with preparations for a no-deal exit. Writing in The Telegraph, he warns the Conservative Party has been stretched to breaking point and that the deal currently on the table is not sellable. It seems like they folded quicker than a calzone, joked one MP. Pictured as Attorney General Geoffrey Cox. Image, AFP, Getty Images. Meanwhile, Britain's current top civil servant, Acting Cabinet Secretary Sir Mark Sedwill issued an unprecedented slapdown to Tory Brexiteers criticising the PM's chief Brexit advisor, Ollie Robbins. Those responsible should be ashamed of themselves, he said in a letter to The Times. Jeremy Corbyn, yesterday, seized on the Tory civil war as evidence of a government in shambles as the clock ticks down to a EU withdrawal. Mrs May spoke by phone with French President Emmanuel Macron last night in a bid to rally EU leaders round her plan. But EU Council President Donald Tusk said no deal was more likely than ever before. In a letter to EU chiefs, he said hopes for maximum progress and results that would lead to a deal in October had proven to be more complicated than some may have expected. Chief Secretary to the Treasury Liz Truss. Image, PA. While leaders should nevertheless remain hopeful and determined, preparations would be stepped up for a no-deal exit. The fact that we are preparing for a no-deal scenario must not, under any circumstances, lead us away from making every effort to reach the best agreement possible, for all sides, he said. As someone rightly said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Let us not give up. Mrs May endured a 105-minute Commons mauling last night as MPs rounded on her for failing to break the deadlock. She claimed EU chiefs were looking at her plan for a temporary all-UK customs union, but needed more than a few weeks to draw it up. So now they want a backstop to the backstop where Northern Ireland remains in the customs union, which would split it from the rest of the UK. EU chiefs want a backstop to the backstop to protect the Northern Ireland border. Image, Charles McQuillan, but the PM cannot back the move because the Democratic Unionist Party, on whose votes she relies to prop up her administration, is bitterly opposed. Ex-Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, tipped to challenge her for the party crown, said, "Will you confirm that the very latest deadline by which this country will take back control of our tariff schedules and vary those tariffs independently of Brussels in order to do free trade deals will be December 2021? If that isn't the deadline, could you say when it is?" Earlier, he warned talks were entering the moment of crisis and urged the PM to scrap the backstop. Former party leader Ian Duncan Smith asked Mrs. May, "How long do you think this temporary arrangement might last, and most importantly, who would make the final decision as to when it ends?" 17 to 18 October 2018 to 27 EU leaders meet Theresa May in Brussels for a Moment of Truth summit. It looks like a full deal won't be struck. But crucially, they will decide whether there's enough progress to call another summit in November. End of October 2018, no deal preparations have to begin in the UK government no matter what, because otherwise they won't be ready on time. The 29th of October 2018, the budget. It will spell out no deal preparations and be a test of loyalty for the DUP, who are supposed to vote with the government but could rebel. Mid-November 2018, the UK is hoping for a final Brexit summit where she'd seal not just a deal, but a political declaration on future trade. This is Danger Moment 1, where Theresa May's cabinet ministers could resign or trigger a leadership coup. End of November 2018, MPs hold the vote on any deal in Parliament. This is Danger Moment 2 for Theresa May, who will be in deep trouble if she loses the vote. She claims the UK will leave with no deal anyway if she loses. But Labour say she should be forced back to the negotiating table, call a general election, or even trigger a second EU referendum. The 29th of March 2019, Brexit Day. If there is a deal, this will be a total anticlimax because a transition will be in place. If there is no deal, planes could be grounded, ports jammed up and customs checks thrown into chaos at 11 p.m. The 31st of December 2020, if there is a deal, this is when the transition period, which continues pretty much all the EU rules we have now, will end. Tory MP Simon Clarke said the PM failed to reassure the House. Conservative Eurosceptic Sir Bill Cash claimed, "If we continue to be dictated to by the EU in the way things are going at the moment, this country will be brought to a humiliating conclusion." But Mrs. May insisted, the purpose of the backstop is to be an insurance policy, such that if the future relationship is not in place at the time of January 1, 2021, then there is an arrangement that ensures no hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. So it is there for the time until the future relationship can come into place. As we indicated in June, we expect that to be no later than December 2021. But we will be working to ensure that point comes as early as possible.